Welcome, everyone, to tonight's Zoom call. I am Bruce Sherman, ANC Commissioner, Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner in Chevy Chase, DC. I represent District 02. I am very happy that you're all able to join us tonight. This is a special meeting to hear firsthand testimony on the incident that occurred on August 20th in the morning at around 8:15 at 27th Street and Military Road. We'll have a lot more, of course. That's what the whole evening is about. So you'll hear many, many details about that. I want to welcome all of you. I particularly want to welcome the two people who are going to be doing most of the talking tonight. The first is Cesar. Cesar is was the driver of the vehicle that was stopped at 27th and Military. It was his co-worker who was taken into custody on that occasion. He prefers just to use his first name. He also prefers just to be on audio, not video. So those are the circumstances we agreed to, and he will be joining us, and he's on the call now, will be participating momentarily. Also, we have on the call someone who witnessed the incident. She also prefers to use her first name, Caitlin. And she will be joining us. She has provided video, which I will be showing you. We also have video that's been provided by another source, which I will be showing you tonight as well. And the person who took that video will be joining us hopefully momentarily. She was telling me that she has kids to put to bed, and so she was going to be joining us as she was able. So I want to particularly thank Cesar and Caitlin for coming forward. Cesar, having been involved in the incident, as you can imagine, it's a very sensitive matter for him. It's courageous for him to come and talk to us. So I'm deeply appreciative to him and to Caitlin for joining us tonight. Let me do just a little bit of scene setting for this, and then we'll get into the program. It was not even a week ago that I hosted another Zoom call. It was last Tuesday that was in response to questions, comments, concerns from my constituents regarding the de facto federal takeover of law enforcement in DC and the deployment of National Guard troops. That Zoom brought together representatives from the American Civil Liberties Union DC chapter, League of Women Voters DC chapter, Free DC, and they discussed rights and responsibilities of people in our community, ordinary citizens, as they may choose to demonstrate, protest, articulate their views, become involved in local affairs, so that they could do so effectively but safely. That meeting was an hour plus, nearly an hour, 20 minutes, very productive, I thought. And yet it was, little did we know, a prelude, because the very next morning is when this arrest happened at 27th and Military. And in that circumstance, there were lots of witnesses because, as you can imagine, during rush hour traffic on Military Road, there are lots of people passing by. And again, several people took videos, as I've explained, which you will see. But what's become urgent for many of my constituents is to know, as bystanders, how they are to respond if they find themselves in a situation in which the expanded law enforcement, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, U.S. Park Police, and other law enforcement agencies, as they're involved now in our own neighborhood. What are they to do if they find themselves in a situation that involves those law enforcement agencies and officers? So this meeting is intended to provide information about an incident that happened. Again, many of my constituents have asked me what took place, and I'm endeavoring to help them understand that. I want to be very clear about a couple of things. This is not an occasion for me, certainly, to render any judgment about law enforcement. I want to facilitate access to information for you on the call, my constituents and others in Chevy Chase. I'm not judging any of the participants in the incident either. You, of course, as participants here, are free to ask any questions you want, make any comments you want, and I will bring you into the conversation when we get into discussion if you raise your hands. I will also be using tonight to revisit some of the guidelines that the American Civil Liberties Union had shared with us last week, and they pointed us to their website, which they now have expanded to have an entire page dedicated to happenings in DC. And I'm going to be reviewing with you rights and responsibilities of citizens in this moment in which some of you, maybe many of you, and others in the community would like to demonstrate, like to protest, or again, find yourselves in a situation in which you're close to law enforcement. So that is essentially the scene setter for tonight. And I then again want to welcome Cesar and Caitlin and another witness to the scene, Laurel, as she is available. All right, let me begin by doing this. I want to share my screen and show you.
You hit that.
Not that. Hold on 1 second. I will find this for you. So what I'm about to show you is not the 27th and Military. It's another incident that happened on Friday of this week. Here's a circumstance, and I'll give you the brief setup. This is on Moreland Place, Northwest in Chevy Chase, just off of Oregon Avenue. And already on the scene here is an unmarked, presumably Immigration and Customs Enforcement vehicle. It's not exactly clear. One of the agents has already moved to behind this van that is a contractor's van that was doing roofing work on the home on Moreland Place. And you will see what unfolds in the video. I'll come in at the very end of it. It's just 1 minute. Take a look.
Should I get in on my iPad, do you think? That would be better? Or no?
Somebody throw up camera.
I don't know.
So what you just saw was law enforcement here in our neighborhood in Chevy Chase on Moreland Place approaching a contracting crew, a roofing crew, and you saw one of their workers flee and was chased down. He was apprehended and taken into custody. This is a totally new circumstance in our neighborhood. I've lived here for nearly 30 years. This has never happened before. Again, I'm not passing judgment on it. I'm telling you that it has never happened before, and therefore it's incumbent upon me as a commissioner and all of us to try to understand what's going on and what we do about it when we're in these situations. Imagine if you were a homeowner right there with law enforcement and that worker and caught in the middle. What would you do? So this, again, meeting tonight is to help you to understand what you might do. That was the second incident. This happened just in the last week. That happened on Friday morning. And we're going to be focused again on the one that happened on Wednesday morning at 27th and Military. So let me go first now to the video. And maybe I'll just stop there and ask Caitlin and Cesar if you would like to come in and just each of you briefly say hello to the group. You're not on video, you're just on audio. Cesar, let's start with you, if you don't mind, just coming on and saying a few words by way of introduction.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate you letting me talk to your constituents. One thing is about hearing or reading about what's happening in the news. Another is hearing directly from someone that experienced this, what I will call terrible situation. And so, again, thank you for allowing me to speak with everyone. I'm also gonna just focus on my experience, how I lived through it, and then be sharing some thoughts at the end. But yeah, I'll share some details of what went on Wednesday. And again, thank you.
Thank you. Caitlin, please come on if you don't mind and just say a few introductory words.
Sure. Thank you for holding this meeting and thank you for including me in it. My name's Caitlin. I work in DC and yeah, I witnessed what happened on Wednesday.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is start with Caitlin's video, and I will play her video for you. Let me make sure I've got the right one. Just one moment. Okay, this is the video that Caitlin took, and I'll play it, and then Caitlin will describe it to us. You'll hear some of the narration during the video.
So Wednesday, August 20th, 8:30 a.m. Crossing the Welcome to Rock Creek Park sign at 27th, Utah, Northwest. Maybe 6 police cars. Looks like multiple agents with their faces covered, police vests. One person, I believe, is being detained from this truck. Cars are marked as park police.
Okay, so that is a bit of an introduction to the circumstance, and Caitlin, you can describe for the folks on the call how you approach the intersection. Caitlin has shared other video with me, but for reasons of confidentiality, not to expose Cesar, we won't show those video clips. But Caitlin, if you don't mind kind of taking us back to how you approached the intersection, because you obviously parked your car and then walked back up to the scene. So take it maybe from the beginning.
Sure. I was driving to work on Military Road, heavy traffic, and I heard the police sirens going off behind us, asking cars to move out of the way for them. So I moved out of the way along with the other vehicles, and the cop car went past us, followed by at least 4 more cop cars. So I knew something was happening up ahead. Traffic was merging very slowly to go around the upcoming police activity. And I noticed 2 separate work trucks driven by Latino men backing away from the police activity and taking a different route. So that made me think there was likely ICE activity. And so I took out my phone. I continued to drive safely, but I aimed my phone out the passenger window and started recording immediately. I made one long recording from that point forward. So I followed all traffic laws, pointing my camera at the police activity as I passed it. I pulled over onto a side street, legally, continued filming, walked up, and I filmed from that point forward from across the street on a public sidewalk until every police officer had left. I narrated what I could to describe the place and time and what I saw happening, but generally left the sound of the video to what was happening. And I made sure to signal to Cesar from across the street that I was recording so that he wouldn't leave before talking to me. And then I crossed on a crosswalk after the last police officer left, and we tried to figure out, what had just happened and what we were going to do.
Great. Thank you, Caitlin. And can you also describe for folks on the call what the officers, some of them looked like? Not in terms of any sort of racial characterization, but simply, how they were dressed, how they presented themselves, that type of thing.
So based on attire, it seemed that there were, like multiple agencies there. Park Police was present, MPD, I believe, was also present, and there were men that you can see in this video that are wearing like a tan camo and bulletproof vests and black balaclavas covering their faces. And those people were present. There's also someone in a white shirt that looks like maybe he's higher ranking than the other people who were there.
Right. How many officers or agents do you think all told were there on the scene?
I think there were at least 9. I didn't count specifically.
Mm-hmm. Right. And vehicles, a half dozen? Or
At least.
Right. Right. What did you witness in terms of other participants, people who were passing by, people might have been on the sidewalk? Can you describe that part of the activity?
Well, during the time that I was there, I did not see anyone else filming that I could see. There were people walking by, and some people stopped, some people did not stop. It's a scary situation. People have their reasons to not stick around. But I know that there was quite a lot of activity before I arrived also.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't speak to that.
Right, right. Okay, thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add? I'd like to go to Cesar and have him describe the circumstances he experienced it. He's got quite a bit of detail to share. But anything before we go to Cesar you'd like to add?
The only thing I want to add is that if anyone else on this call has any footage or video or willing to testify to what they saw or anything that they can share with Cesar, to reach out to Bruce and share that, please.
Yes, please. That's great. Thank you very much, Caitlin. Cesar, then please come into the conversation and would just start from the beginning. You were driving along Military Road. Maybe
Yeah.
start right at the beginning.
Yes. On August 20th, which was a Wednesday, early morning, I was safely driving a company vehicle heading to work. And then as I was driving through Military Road, a police officer, park police officer, turned on the lights and decided to stop me. As I safely pull into the street to wait for the police officer, he came to my window and stated that he had stopped me because my car tags were obstructed, and that he needed to see IDs from everyone to make sure that we were all right. As I was sitting there trying to understand what was happening, why the police officer needed to see, was directly focusing on IDs while not explaining why I had been stopped or if I had done anything wrong. A second individual decided to show on the passenger window. It was a plain cloth. He was wearing plain cloth with a vest that read police. As I continue to speak respectfully to the police officer to understand the situation, the plaincloth person was acting aggressive, asking us various questions. Much time didn't pass by when that person decided to open the company's vehicle without any of our consent and decided to grab the passenger aggressively and throw him on the floor. I, again, trying to understand the situation, going from an obstructed tag to someone, pulling a passenger who wasn't even asked, who wasn't given even the opportunity to talk much, put into the floor and really.
And Israeli military in that case released some screenshots of documents showing he had worked for Hamas in the past. Osman, what do you think of that type of justification?
Very good. Cesar, come back and just unmute yourself. I might have inadvertently muted you in my dash to mute whoever was talking.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Go ahead.
So I as the plainclothes person was trying to restrain the passenger, the police officer decided to join him to restrain the passenger. And that's when I actually started recording and have recording of that interaction.
Mm.
I also decided to speak back to them and, making them aware that about the various rights they were violating. And I also loudly found the courage to, say that this detention was illegal. And that's where kind of like I stayed. I really wanted to call attention from the community because what was happening was an injustice, something that I've never seen in my entire life. As I film and they continue to, the two men tried to restrain the person on the floor. I exited the vehicle recording the situation, and I safely went into the sidewalk. And that's when the police officer, without any warning, I wasn't acting erratic or I wasn't being violent, decided to handcuff me with real handcuffs, metal handcuffs, and put me next to the car without without any reason. He just put me next to the car. At that time, there were lots of people passing by, and several people. I think there was one person that started recording the situation, and also asking me my name just to make sure that I was safe, that I wasn't going to disappear and no one know who I was. As I was in the truck, I hadn't at that time, I hadn't had the opportunity to even give my identification to the police officer. It was actually in my wallet still. As I'm in the handcuffs, I did let the officer know that I was a U.S. citizen and that I was being detained illegally. After the police needed to, I think he was like trying to do a few things. 2 additional people joined him. And these were people wearing, I think, what Kaylin described as the green and khaki pants, and they were wearing masks. I have to say that at any point in this incident, nobody identified themselves. Nobody said which agency they worked for, why they were there, why were they, detaining or holding me up. And so the police left me with these 2 people that were wearing, again, a green shirt, khaki pants with a vest. And both of them were masked. One of them was trying to intimidate me and, telling me like where I was from. I had already stated earlier to the police officer that I was a U.S. citizen, and that he could take my ID card, to verify any information. Of course, I think I was detained from what it seemed 15 or held up, for like 15, 20 minutes. The police officer finally came and asked me for my ID, which I told him was in my wallet, and my ID was behind my credit cards. So he decided to grab them, to grab my ID and go back to the police car to check for anything. At this moment, I could see there were tons of police. Or there was Metro Police, Park Police, and all these people with the various attires. The green and khaki, plain clothes. Many of them wearing masks. And the vehicles, there were like, aside from the Park Police vehicles and the Metro Police vehicles, many of them were cars that were unmarked, so you wouldn't know like they were, a car from a federal agent or anything. As they take the passenger and put him into the car. Another person that was a bystander also got arrested. And then, after the police checked I don't know, my records or anything, someone in that group yelled and said, "What are we gonna do with this one?" And someone replied back saying, "We have to let him go," to their disappointment. That's when one of the people wearing the khaki pants with the green shirts and the vest and the mask asked me to get very close to the car, and to open my legs, which I follow as directed. And I open my legs and I get close to the car. But then he said wider and decided to kick my legs so that I opened them wider. Then he was aggressively giving me instructions to where to put my hands after I
Both security in this country places us in greater peril.
After they take off my handcuffs. Everyone left and nobody said anything. Nobody said, sorry, or, they didn't provide any information. Oh, at some point, the police officer brings a ticket warning with the words, obstructed tags, which didn't mean anything. I wasn't fined. I wasn't given a court date or anything. So that's just all the details. Oh yeah, as everyone's leaving, as Caitlin mentioned, I looked across the street and there is this person waving at me, making sure that I knew that she was there to make me feel safe. And then we met up, and I also tried to call my family, but you know, I was running like with high emotions. I could barely talk. I also had experienced a tremendous pain on my stomach.
I guess that's the guy who got arrested. Maybe he's out.
Cesar, if you have any further words, please share those with us. I know many on the call will have questions, and I want to, in just a little bit, go to questions from and comments from those on the call.
Yeah.
Anything else, Cesar, you'd like to add?
Well, first of all, you know, it was clearly that I was racially profiled. You know, they saw um, two Latino men driving a work vehicle, and they decided to stop me. Then they used a bogus traffic violation as an excuse to ask for IDs. I've been in traffic stops before, and the first thing that a police officer will ask you, yes, they will ask you for ID, but only to the driver. And they would also ask for car registration. And then you'll give them that information, they'll go back and check, and then come back and take any necessary actions if a violation was, you know, if someone committed a violation of some kind. Third, there is a huge amount of resources that are going into this. You can see there are 7, 8 cars, and who knows, 9, 10 people just for 2 people, you know, that were going to work. Imagine the amount of resources and money that is going into this. And you know, and then also in terms from a human perspective, you know, you're terrorizing an entire community just because of how they look or where they're from, or you know, whatever immigration story that they have. So yeah, those are kind of like a few of my thoughts. You know, as questions come up, I would like to maybe share like you know, there are organizations, you know, working tirelessly to help the community to feel safe. So I'll share a resource of who you can support. And then finally, you know, I don't know after this, like who in DC is feeling safe. You know, you're watching armored vehicles go on the street, you know, National Guard walking the streets armed, and then people with masks and no affiliation to or anything, any information to see, you know, why what are they doing? Who is there? You know, who's giving them direction, or how are they making some of these decisions? So yeah.
Right. Well, thank you. And again, I know that many people on the call will have questions. I want to mention to everyone that the other person arrested on the scene is a DC resident. I have spoken with him. Press reports have already identified him as a 45-year-old man. He preferred not to participate tonight. He obviously is facing misdemeanor charges, and so there is legal action in play at the moment. And so I respected his privacy, and we are not showing any of the videos that capture him. And so I just want to let you know that I have spoken to him and have heard corroborating details about the event, as Cesar is relating them, as Caitlin has related them. So I just wanted to note that. Cesar, before we move, I want to bring Laurel into the conversation. She's also on the call, another witness who did take video. Your coworker, can you tell us if you've heard anything from him?
Oh, I'm not going to comment on my coworker at the moment, but I appreciate the sentiment and people asking for him.
Okay. Okay. Very, very good. So Laurel, if you don't mind, just coming on and introducing yourself, that would be great. I trust you're on the call. We've got 100 and some folks. I can't go down the roster. There we are. Yeah. So Laurel, tell us, come on, introduce yourself and just describe what you witnessed. And Laurel, let me just mention that the very powerful video you shared, we're not going to show that because Cesar has asked that we not present his image in anything that we show tonight. So with out of respect for that, I will hold the video. But since you took it and you were there, tell us what you saw.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce, and thank you everyone for joining. And Cesar, I know you and I haven't connected. I did contact one of the hotlines, and the video I had was too big to upload to them. And when I saw Bruce's announcement on the on one of our listservs, I forwarded the email to him. But I'd be happy to connect with you and make sure that I just also wanted to just say I have not shared the video outside of that. So just I'm happy to connect with you too once this is over. But like I said, my name is Laurel. I was driving my two kids to their daycare that morning. I arrived coming down 27th Street. I have had less. I am not trained in most of these things. I wasn't able to join previous calls, but I'd say my video is significantly more chaotic than Caitlin's is. When I arrived, there were fewer police vehicles on the scene, but I did see Cesar's vehicle pulled over and park police behind. So the car that is in front in this video, I believe I saw later on arriving onto the scene. I saw immediately Cesar's coworker on the ground with a man's knee in his back, and I began recording. Like I said, I had two small kids with me in the car, so opted not to get out of the car, and just don't think I would have been able to be helpful in that situation with all of the vehicles approaching. As I was there, Cesar was, providing information to the public about sort of what was going on. And I did see, I believe, the gentleman who was arrested walking across the street and approaching and videoing. I also heard the man who had put the other gentleman on the ground yelling at the man who approached that if he got any closer, he was going to get sprayed. I heard that very clearly. I continued recording until I saw others had arrived on the scene as well and appeared to be recording. And then as I left, I did see MPD arriving. I was commuting down to past North Capitol, and I would say, this scene, I saw at least 3 or 4 other police cars arriving, and obviously traffic stopped in that direction for quite some time. I also just want to say, as a parent, witnessing this with my children, my 4-year-old had a lot of questions, and I will say that, he wants to be a police officer when he grows up. And watching this, he had a lot of questions that I, would rather have not have been answering, but, wondering why the police weren't helping the men because the men seemed scared. And it really put in perspective what this means for all this happening in our neighborhood. Just arriving at, Military Ave, while there's a lot of traffic in the morning there, is seeing the sirens, seeing the lights was pretty shocking and brought kind of what all this means to real life. I've seen the tanks down at Union Station, all that stuff, but it really was much more in our neighborhood than I anticipated. I'll also just add, it's separate from this incident, but in the past few weeks, hearing reports from the nannies at Lafayette Park, that there's ICE, or they hear ICE coming in and they're picking up the kids and they're running away. And just sort of the realities of this means for all of us. But I think I'll stop there because I'm not sure anything else that I would be sharing is more than just a rant at this point.
Well, thank you though for that. And again, thank you for having shared the video. That will find its way to Cesar so that he can have that. And I just want to again say that that video very clearly depicts the early stage of the circumstance with Cesar's coworker on the ground, and as Laurel described, with the officer that pulled him out of the vehicle. There's a knee on his back on the ground. And that at that moment, then, as Laurel described too, another witness to the scene, a man who was videoing the scene and was arrested, was there videoing and asking what was taking place, what the officers were doing, what their names were, which agencies they were from, that type of thing. But that was a controlled circumstance. And so in any event, that's what the video shows. So with the presentations that Caitlin and Cesar and Laurel have generously provided, and again, I want to salute them and Cesar very courageously sharing your story with everyone. If you have comments or questions, those of you who've joined us, we have about 160 people on the call. Use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen, and I will gladly call on you. Particularly clarifying questions about what happened on the scene or anything that you would like to add to the conversation. I welcome you to join us. And while you're indicating if you'd like to join, I want to acknowledge that fellow commissioners from ANC 34G are on the call: Peter Goslin, Lisa Gore, Liz Nagy, Carol Grunwald, and I thank them for joining the call. Will Singer, please go ahead, Will. Will, you disappeared from my screen here momentarily. I'm sure you'll come back, so I'll come back to you. Peter Goslin.
Yeah, first of all, to you, Bruce, for hosting this, thank you. And to Cesar and the people who helped him by filming, thank you. Just a few clarifying things. Cesar, was whatever the officers said was obstructed? Was there any plausible case that they couldn't see something they should have been able to see?
You don't have to answer that in this setting also.
Yeah, I cannot answer that, but I do have evidence to the contrary.
Okay. And just so I understand this, I've just come from a Zoom with Councilmember Robert White, and that included MPD officers. MPD were not the first officers on the scene. The first officers, if I understand correctly, were park police, and then a bunch of unidentified people. Is that correct?
Correct. But just one clarification from the first question. It was clear from the get-go that the police was not interested about our obstructed text. I just want to say.
And one of the ways we know that, if I understand you correctly, is that he never did ask you for your registration.
Correct. Yeah, he never asked me for
all the usual things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then your second question was, yes, park police.
Second question has to do with the MPD, because what we heard from MPD on the Councilmember White Zoom is this is where this is a partnership with these various other agencies, but that we are treating residents just as we always have. And I just want to be sure I understand. MPD were latecomers to this incident, I mean, there were already park police and then unidentified, aggressive, masked other officers on the scene before DC police got there?
Yeah. So from what I share, the first two people that, came to our windows, right? Like came to the drivers was park police and a person in plain clothes who I cannot call law enforcement because he never identified himself, right? He didn't say I'm from this agency and so forth. He was wearing a vest that said police, but no name tag, no way of me saying who he was. He could be, an uncover MP. I don't know, right? Like so I cannot say. But to answer your question, MPD was at the scene at some point. Again, I'm being kind of like harassed and detained, and so for me to kind of like know who came first or later, it's a bit hard. But I do know who was the person or uh, the police agency that stopped me. That I know for sure.
And that's park police.
That's park police, yes. From it's district. I forgot the district. Sorry. If someone has that information, you can share. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Mary Callahan.
Cesar, first I want to say that I'm horrified by the humiliation and intimidation that your people suffered. But I have another question for everybody on this call because I think someone may know what can be done as far as having contractors in our yard. These folks were taken in on the street. If there are contractors in our yard, can ICE and the park police and the MPD enter the yard? It's also of particular concern on my street because DC, in fact, has quite a right of way.
So Luca, I
Many
would love for you to sit down. Have some
DC has quite a right of way, much of it even very close up to our doorsteps. Does anyone have answers to these questions? If we send people into the house, if people come into our yard to try to arrest contractors, what can we do?
Mary, that's a very good question. And one of the aspects of this meeting is to review rights and responsibilities that we have learned from the American Civil Liberties Union DC chapter. So why don't we hold that until we can get to that part of it at the end? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a very good question. And
I want people in my house. I don't want ICE invading my yard. We're doing a lot of work right now in the house, and everybody's legal, but that doesn't seem to matter anymore.
Right. Thank you for the question. We will certainly come back to it. Carol Grunwald, Commissioner Grunwald.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to let you know that I just also came from Council Member Robert White's meeting on this very subject. And I did ask that very question that Mary Callahan just asked of the attorney who spoke at this meeting. Her name was Emily Casametas. But if you don't want to go into that right now, I can wait, Bruce.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I asked, what should residents do if ICE comes for people who are working for them, roofers, landscapers, housekeepers, and so on? What should we do? Are they safe on residents' property? Are they safe in a resident's home or in our cars? And the attorney Casametas was a little vague on this. She said the legalities are not quite straight on this subject, but she did insist.
$5 credit. Oh, well. That's okay. I would have to do that.
Yeah. She did say that people would be safe in one's home. ICE can only come for them if they have a warrant signed by a judge. So her advice to those who are concerned about people who are in their employ is if ICE shows up outside your house and wants to get involved with your landscapers or whomever, you are to usher them immediately into your home. And then I asked, well, okay, if they have a warrant signed by a judge, then you're obligated to let them into your home. But if they don't have a warrant, it was unclear. And I also asked the question, are people safe in a resident's car? For example, if your landscaper or housekeeper, needs to go home and is afraid to travel, it was very unclear if they would be safe in one's car. The attorney basically said that a policeman can pull you over, a car over for basically any reason. So that was the best I could get from that encounter at Robert White's meeting this evening.
Thank you. Again, we will take a quick look at, and I will show you the resources available from the ACLU DC chapter here before we finish the call. Liz Nagy, Commissioner Nagy, please.
Thank you. I have a follow-on question, comment. Given the situation where the bystander who was recording, I don't even like to call it an incident because it doesn't really cover it. And I'm so sorry, Cesar, that you had to endure this, and both of you. If you usher someone into your home, did the attorney, this is sort of directed to Carol, did the attorney talk about your liability for obstructing, if any?
Commissioner Nagy, we didn't get that far.
Sorry, thank you. It's the lawyer in me. I'm sorry.
The meeting was attended by about approximately 250 ANC members and other.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm sorry that I missed it. But
And
yeah,
there were so many
you.
questions that they really couldn't get into it in detail. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think that's okay. I do think
Nagy, can I just interrupt one quick second, which is
Sure.
I will transition to the rights and responsibilities portion of this call momentarily. Do we have any further comments or questions for Cesar, Caitlin, or Laurel? And Karen Bartman, please join. Go ahead, Karen. You may have to.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
This video that you saw, the other video you saw was my residence where I had a roofer come, and my neighbor Chris Salvatore, who's on this call, I think, videoed the incident. I didn't see it actually, but Chris texted me and said, "Do you have something going on?" He has cameras, and I said, "Well, yeah, I'm having roofers," and he indicated to me that ICE was there picking somebody up. I said, "Well, I have no idea what's going on." Well, as the day or the morning transpired, one of the workers was there, one was on the roof, and I guess the one in the video that you saw had fled. So I was questioning the man that was in there to help fix the inside roof issue that was implicated. And I was asking him I said, "Was this one of your workers?" I didn't. My neighbor said that maybe somebody was picked up by ICE, and he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, can you tell me about him?" I said, "I can't believe this is happening." And he said, "Yes, he's been in the country since he was young." I said, "Is he documented?" He said, "No, he has tried to get documentation. He's probably in his mid-20s now and has 2 young children. And he's from Guatemala." So that's the story. And that was like in the morning between 9:30 and 10. And so I chatted with him a little bit through the day or the morning as he was working in the house.
Right. Thank you, Karen, for that. Will Singer.
Thank you, Bruce. I have a question for Caitlin or Laurel. And it was a question that was put to Cesar, and I understand completely why the situation was too chaotic and stressful for him to track which officers were with which agency. But did either of you notice MPD, and what did you see MPD doing?
This is Caitlin. I can say that I did notice MPD. I saw two like typical police cars present, and I did see them walking in uniform, but I don't know that I could say more than that for any like specific agency.
Thank you.
And they
I guess
were
the-
only arriving on scene as I was already driving away. So I had filmed a car arriving, but I don't have anything else.
Thank you. I guess the reason I'm asking is just that MPD's arrest reports showed that they arrested the bystander who was filming. And I think that speaks to their level of involvement in that. No matter how much we don't want that to be the case, our local police are part of this project. And for me, it's very concerning.
Oh, yes, they're definitely involved. Yes.
Sorry, Ken. I could just add this because again, I've spoken to the man who was arrested, and he was taken to the 2nd District offices of MPD, where he was charged with the misdemeanor. So the circumstance is that to be charged, I don't know the legal jurisdictional lines here and what the U.S. Park Police could charge someone with particularly, but to the extent that someone's going to be charged with even a misdemeanor in the District of Columbia, presumably the police would be involved. Not that they didn't have further involvement in this case, in the circumstance, but that much they did have, as I understood it from the man. Someone has put in the chat a couple of questions about what has happened to the two people who were arrested. Again, Cesar's indicated that he prefers not to speak about his coworker, and the other man whom I was just speaking about was released, but there are charges filed, and he's pursuing legal action now. But he's at home, so he's back at home. Just so you know. Any other questions, comments from? And Will, sorry, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I did not, and now I have lowered my hand. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, great, thanks. Super. Anyone else like to make a comment or have a question for Cesar, Caitlin, Laurel? Yes, Carol Klinger, please go ahead.
Just to be clear, sorry about the echo. Just to be clear, the man who was arrested, who was videoing, he's also the man who approached and started asking questions.
Yes, he was there on the scene, crossed over to the area. He was videoing. He was inquiring as to what was happening.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Snigdha Prakash. I'm sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand, so I
No
apologize.
worries. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't have a question, but I just want to say to Cesar that I am so deeply sorry that this happened. I am so deeply sorry, and I salute Caitlin's bravery. So, you know, and Laurel's too. I can't imagine what it was like to be in a car with 2 small children and doing this, but I really think Caitlin showed such tremendous presence of mind. And Cesar, I too am a brown-skinned immigrant, and I too am afraid. And I am so sorry that this happened to you. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there comments? I'm mindful that we are 5 minutes past time. I'll ask your indulgence to stay with us just for a little bit longer as I try to explain to you and show you the resources that are available. We covered these to some extent in the call that I referenced, the Zoom call last Tuesday, August 19th. But for those of you who are asking questions about rights and responsibilities, one of several places you can go, relatively authoritative, is the ACLU, and they have aggregated their resources regarding the current involvement of federal law enforcement in the district under this particular banner at their website. And you there can see their resources. I will just, you can go and you can read this, and I encourage you to do so. I will just cover a few things for you just to show you what is here so that you get a sense of what's available. They try to address very straightforwardly how to stay safe. And you can read along with me or see as I read along. These are very important things should you find yourself in a situation. So keep your hands where law enforcement can see them. Do not run away. Do not lie to law enforcement. Something that I think is very important, having seen the videos and spoken again to the man who was there, is to follow the instructions that you're given by law enforcement. Don't escalate the situation. It's legal for you to video, to film a circumstance. That's not illegal. It's part of your First Amendment rights. People have put that question into the chat, and that is absolutely legal to do. But one has to be very careful about getting too close and about being too assertive in one's posture when there's an active arrest going on, as you can imagine. There are additional links that you can click on here to understand even further what your rights are and then what your responsibilities are. So as you see the bullet points, if, for example, you are questioned, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse to consent to a search of yourself, your car, or your home. Mary, to some extent, this is addressing a little bit of the question you were asking, what would happen if federal agents showed up on your property? If you're under arrest, you have the right to calmly, if you are not under arrest, obviously, you have the right to calmly leave. You have a right to a lawyer. And regardless of your immigration or citizenship status, you have constitutional rights. Responsibilities. And we, again, talked about this last Tuesday night, but again, with the circumstances that just happened on Friday, very important
tea, right?
to stay calm, do not interfere with the police, do not lie or give false documents. Do prepare yourself and your family in case you are arrested. That is to say, if you're going out and actively demonstrating. Do remember the details of the encounter. Do file a complaint or call your local ACLU if you feel your rights have been violated. These various tabs that you can click on provide copious information in response to the questions that many of you will have. And you also can click on other links here at the ACLU page. They have other information that I think will be relevant as well. They obviously have an advocacy role. That's not our purpose here tonight, but you can read further at the ACLU page if you wish to do so. And it's very easy to go to acludc.org. So I think that should be relatively clear. I'm happy, though, to take any questions at this point, any further questions that anyone might have, take any further comments you have. I build this as 7 into 8 o'clock. It's now almost 10 after 8, so I'm mindful of your time. Anything else that anyone would like to say? Yes, Landon, hi, how are you?
Hello, I just, I know we are all supporting so many organizations that have been disassembled by the federal government, but in some cases, I wonder if in fact we should help to provide some legal support, you know, for a lawyer or whomever for the bystander who is arrested. I'm sure that that person is probably fairly well off. But I really do think at times like these, like the worker, where is he? And if we can provide any kind of financial support to him or his family or whatever. And I'm just thinking about it. We are all giving to so many organizations now, but this is heartbreaking. This is really heartbreaking. Thank you.
No, it is indeed. Karen Caston, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for holding this meeting, and Cesar, I'm so sorry about what happened. I am trying to understand whether the bystander who videotaped got arrested because he asked questions. So is it okay to videotape, but the terrible sin is if you start saying, well, who are you? Why are you doing this? And there was another question in the chat from someone who said, well, what if you start talking to the person who's being detained? Is that a problem? So that's just some additional questions for clarification if possible.
Right, Karen, I can't really say a lot more about that person's situation because of the legal issues. Again, I have spoken to him. What I can do is, taking your question and other questions in the chat, follow up in addition to referring you to the ACLU site, which has answers to some of what you're asking about.
But what you showed didn't indicate that an answer to that.
Okay, so I will find an answer for you about that and get back to you.
Great.
And I just prefer not to reference his situation because of the legal issues that he's currently involved in.
Yeah, it's a general question. Is it a problem if, in addition to videotaping, you ask questions of the agents or of the person who's being arrested?
Right. The one thing that, and others on the call might be able to respond to your question, what I have been reading and what I understand to be the circumstance is that whatever you might say, whatever it is that you say should not escalate the circumstance. You should not be provocative to the point of creating a disturbance that could constitute obstruction of what's going on. And again, there's no reference I'm making here indirectly to this person's circumstance. I'm simply speaking generally in answer to your question, Karen.
Yes, but any question will
I don't know that any question would constitute escalation. That's kind of what I would deduce from that.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that's the circumstance. I think the escalation would get into matters of getting physically closer than they ask you, and they say back up. You need to follow that direction and back up. And then if there is anything you're doing that they expressly, specifically ask you not to do, follow the direction. Don't contradict them, and don't do it anyway. That I think is important. Again, to your question, I don't think simply asking them a question necessarily is tantamount to escalation.
I'll bet it is.
Well, I mean, that's something that we can look at and I can follow up with you on. I'm not.
In the current times and the way things are being interpreted.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Mary, did you still have your hand? Do you have another comment or?
Bruce, can I say something?
Yeah, sorry, please say so, yeah.
The bystander. I just want to say something before we end the call, and that's like, I'm gonna be forever grateful to all the bystanders that decided and had the courage to record what happened. So I just wanted to make clear that everyone that's on this call or who has written to me or who has written to Caitlin, that I'm very grateful, and thank you for your courage. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, Cesar, as we have acknowledged here, we all now in this moment can find ourselves in the role of bystanders, whether we are asserting ourselves as a bystander or whether we're simply caught as a bystander to an arrest that's happening because of what is going on in our very neighborhood. Mary, did you have, you're next on the list. Did you have another question or comment?
Do I have this right in terms of audio and video?
Meaning what, Mary?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I really still want to get to the bottom of the question of whether the contractors in my yard are going to be okay and how I protect them. And I'm not sure we've answered that yet. It sounds like they can be arrested on the way to the house. And it sounds like if they can't escape into the house quickly enough, they're going to be arrested. So it would be really helpful to have some more information about that. Thanks, Bruce.
Mary, I promise you to find an answer. Lisa, welcome, our chair of the ANC 34G.
How are you? Thank you, everybody, for coming. And Bruce, thank you for hosting this. I was on the call that was just held by Robert White. And then after that, I had another Democratic member call me on something. So it's been very busy for everyone. So Bruce, thank you for taking the time to organize this. Just wanted to thank everyone for coming out. I did not get a chance to hear the whole conversation, but Cesar, thank you so much for what you have agreed to do tonight and sharing your story, and just so terribly sorry that you went through that. I think everybody is really concerned about the people that work in our neighborhood and hate to see our contractors and people that provide services to us every day go through these issues. So it's really tough. And I wanted to say that various members of the ANC are working on, I'm just looking at the chat. I will try to give you a brief summary of the Robert White call. It was very extensive, but I'll try to hit some highlights. So various members are working on, different aspects. One of the things that I'm working on, and will ask the ANC to join me on, is raising some awareness of kids right free. So I want everyone to also think about our kids in the neighborhood as they transition to school full-time, riding Metro, being safe in Metro across the city, as well as kids that don't live in our neighborhood, but basically commute through our neighborhood to get to the Deal Jackson Reed feeder patterns. And we'll also have a resolution. I'm going to ask commissioners to join on that kind of express some of the things that we're going through in our neighborhood. And maybe we'll have some, something that incorporates some of the experiences with Caesar. At some point, and I know Bruce has already asked this of MPD, and Bruce, I don't know if you have any update, if MPD want to join a community session. Robert White's call did have a lieutenant from the 7th district on the call. And that was really helpful because some of the questions that I hear you guys asking about local law enforcement and federal law enforcement really need to be answered by MPD. And they would be in the best position to give you some answers on that. Federal law enforcement operates very differently from local. And I agree, Bruce gave you excellent advice. I think, and I think the last person that was talking, asked about, if you could ask questions, Karen, you can. And I retired from federal law enforcement. So I'm just going to kind of speak on my experience. You can. And people will say, why are you arresting this person? What did that person do? 9 times out of 10, federal law enforcement is not going to answer. They are going to try to make the arrest as safely and as quickly as possible and exit the area. That's what they do. So I don't think, Karen, just honestly, that would provoke them to say you're obstructing. But if they felt like Bruce said that you're too close or that you're gotten to the point that you're interfering and they say, I need you to step back, it is best to do that because, again, this is federal law enforcement, not MPD. And I just
Sure,
think
but I don't think it's going to play out that way.
it might not.
Lady, step back. No, it's going to be, you're interfering with my arrest. You're under arrest.
Well, most of the time, if they say, most of the time they will give you what we call a command. They will say, I need you to step back because you're interfering. And if you don't do that, if you,
Not the way it's happening.
I think it's happening both ways, and you're absolutely right. It could happen both ways because I've seen social media where they just shared one where kids were following the ACLU guidance and just kept repeating, am I free to go? Am I free to go? I mean, they must have said it 20, 30 times, and eventually the feds left. So, under this environment, Karen, you're absolutely right. It can go either way. But I think these tips are to put you in the best position for it to go in a positive way. But the worst thing I will say that you could probably do in the federal situation is, if they say that they feel you're interfering, definitely change your stance. I think that's going to be the best position. With most of our cell phones, probably the range is pretty good that you can still video from a pretty safe distance. So it doesn't mean that you have to probably drop your camera, but just maybe, step back and zoom it in as much as you can. And I agree. I think, Cesar commented on it as well. The video is critical. Federal agents don't have body cams like local. That law doesn't exist that requirement doesn't exist for federal agents that are out there on the street. So your cell phone video is going to be the one that exists. They're not wearing body cam unless, MPD is with them and MPD has their body cam on. So that's something to keep in mind. But, Robert White's call was basically, there was a lot of participants. I think max count I saw was around 400. So there was a lot of people on the call, a lot of ANC commissioners. Your commissioners were on, quite a few. So I saw Commissioner Grunwald, Commissioner Gosselin, and myself. All of your commissioners that were on asked questions. So Commissioner Grunwald, I believe, talked about the question that she asked. And he was trying to get the pulse. So there was actually a lot of questions about kids. The real ID came up. So State Board of Education rep for Ward 7, LaJoy Johnson was there. And she and State Board of Education at large rep Jack Patterson are pushing for the mayor and the council to adopt real IDs for kids because they just have DC-1 cards, which don't match the federal requirement for real IDs. So that was a really good discussion around that. I asked about the Kids Ride Free, and quite a few people talked about, students on Metro. One of the things that was said was that they don't enforce fare evasion for kids. And the chat just kind of went crazy. There are a lot of folks on there from all wards across the city, and there is a lot of folks on the Anacostia side that were basically alluding to their kids being targeted and being surrounded by law enforcement, being absolutely subjected, to being stopped for fare evasion. So a couple of the Ward 4 commissioners on the Georgia Avenue side also said the same thing. So that was a big discussion there. And then, just a lot of the same questions that you guys are asking about what to do in a scenario. They also had, and I don't know, Bruce, actually, I think you had ACLU on your first call. So they were on, it was an attorney, and I don't know if she was from ACLU, but she was answering some of the legal questions like what Karen asked. And I think that was about it. And it was just going through the concerns that the community had. So he did not offer like a platform in terms of how we kind of get out of, suggestion how we get out of this on a larger, more strategic area. But he is very gracious, took a lot of notes. His staff was there and vowed to work on some of the issues. And I think what people were basically saying to him, and I heard Commissioner Gosselin say this more than once, is how do we think strategically about it? Because most people don't think we're in this for 30 days and then we're going to be done. And so most people were saying, here are some of the long-term issues that we think you need to deal with. And he was very gracious about saying that his office was going to work with the mayor and the council on those issues. So that was encouraging because I haven't, really heard that from a lot of folks. And, I know our Ward 4 council member is getting ready to have a meeting is also said that. So the more they say that, the better it's going to be for us.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. I'm mindful, folks, that we're now nearly at 8:30, so I want to wrap this up in respect with respect to your time. Brenda Small, you've had your hand up for quite some time. Mary, you put your hand back up. Maybe you have another comment, but let's go to Brenda.
Thank you, Bruce. I don't believe that it was adequately addressed or answered in terms of if one gets stopped and they are approached by, assumably, an enforcement officer with no ID, unmarked vehicles, mass hiding their identity, not revealing why they're actually stopping you. What is our obligation? I mean, again, from a privacy standpoint, it's a concern. If I'm trying to turn over ID to someone who I don't know that they're legitimate, can anybody answer that? And by the way, I do not believe that the quote profiling will be restricted or limited to our Latino brothers and sisters.
Right. Yeah. So Brenda, and I want to reflect also on Jared Jager's question about how we keep our community safe in these difficult, he noted, insane times. And that's something that we will follow up with, I pledge, and fellow commissioners. We will be focusing on guidance that we can provide, resources we can provide, answers to your specific questions that we can provide subsequent to this meeting. Part of this meeting is about surfacing questions that members of the community have, understanding what we need to address and how we can help you. So I pledge, and I know my fellow commissioners will join me in this and ensuring that we get back to everyone. I will preserve this chat. This has been recorded, so I will save this. I will send out to everyone who registered and attended tonight a link to the recording and to the chat file, so we'll memorialize the questions, and then we'll come back and answer questions to the best of our ability. And if there are legal issues that we need to get legal counsel on, then we will seek legal counsel and help you, because you're asking very, very good questions, and they're critically important. Does that make sense to everybody? I know we're nearly out of time here, and we are not, at least I certainly am not, I'll speak for myself, a lawyer that can answer some of the legal questions precisely. With that said, we're about to wrap up. Mary, did you have a final comment?
Yes, I just want to ask, how and why can we be arrested for filming actions of ICE, the park police, the MPD? That doesn't seem to be anything that makes any constitutional sense.
Right. So just to be clear on that point, I think I flashed the bullet point from the ACLU on this. It's within your First Amendment rights to video. You're not going to be arrested, or let's put it this way, it is your right to do it, even if certain law enforcement ignore your right. You have a legal right, a constitutional right, First Amendment right to film. So that's, I want to be clear on that point. It's in the ACLU guidance. But all that said, now at 8:30, bang on, I want to thank again Cesar and Caitlin and Laurel. I very much appreciate your your courage, your participation tonight. We hope to stay in touch with you. If anyone on this call has any further information to share about what happened at 27th and military, please send that to me and I will channel it appropriately. And again, we will follow up. I'll be sharing the recording, the link to the recording and the chat file of this meeting. Thank you to my fellow commissioners. Thanks to all the members of the public. And again, Cesar, Caitlin, and Laurel, thank you so much.
Hey, Bruce. One
Yes.
quick question. I don't know if everybody is aware that I just wanted to share another event. You might have shared it. Did you talk about the Ward 3 meeting tomorrow with Ward 3 Democrats?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay. I just put the link in the chat. It's Jamie Raskin. They're going to be hosting him tomorrow. There's, according to what I've just heard, over 500 registered attendees. But he's going to be talking about the emergency legislation that they are trying to introduce in the Congress to end the emergency declaration by the president. So that might be something, and he's going to answer questions. So good opportunity for people to hear that.
Great. Commissioner Nagy, you're muted.
I actually, thank you, I'm sorry, Commissioner Sherman. I sent out a notice to my constituents about Jamie Raskin's Zoom tomorrow, and I'm happy to put it on the listserv to get it out to more people. I don't know whether I don't necessarily do Chevy Chase chatter, but maybe Lisa, you could put it up there so that people can see it. Yeah. Okay, I'll do the listserv. You do Chevy Chase chatter. Excuse me, Karen, I'm still speaking. Thank you.
I'm just saying not enough people will see it with what you're doing.
I have 250 people on my email list. I'm happy to try to branch that out. If you want to join my email list, shoot me
I'll
an
tell you
email.
what, guys, let's get up. We're gonna wrap up. I think we're
thanks,
done.
everyone.
We'll put it on the listserv, and everybody can see it who can see it on the listserv. It's not a perfect world. Thank you guys very much. Thanks so much. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.